The council chamber buzzed with excited alien voices after the humans left. Vorthak stretched his massive arms and laughed again, that grinding sound that made smaller aliens step back. "Did you see how calm they were?" asked the crystal being, whose name was Kethmore. "They didn't even argue. They know they have no choice." "Humans are smart enough to recognize their situation," agreed the feathered alien, Zixandra. "They'll accept our protection. They have to." Vorthak walked around the circle of thrones, his heavy feet making the metal floor shake. "I almost feel sorry for them. Such a young species playing at being a real civilization. They probably think their little toy ships can actually fight." "Their technology is primitive," said the Zalani representative, Sulvek. "Our scans show they barely understand energy shields. Their weapons are crude projectile systems, chemical explosives mostly." "Barbarians with starships," laughed another alien, this one looking like a giant spider. "They'll be happier under our guidance. We'll teach them proper civilization." But not all the council members looked happy. In one of the smaller thrones sat Councillor Thektar of the Verdani Union. His people looked like tall, thin elves with green skin. They were peaceful by nature and didn't like the council's harsh methods. "Perhaps we're moving too fast," Thektar said quietly. "The humans have done nothing actually wrong. They've never attacked anyone. They've never broken any treaties." Vorthak spun around to face him. "They don't need to attack anyone. Look how fast they spread. 15 star systems in 50 years. At this rate, they'll have 100 systems in another century, 1,000 in 5 centuries. Do you want them to become another destroyer war?" The mention of the destroyer war made all the aliens go quiet. 3,000 years ago, a young, aggressive race had spread too fast and grown too strong. When the older civilizations tried to stop them, the result was a galactic war that killed billions. The destroyers were gone now, but their empty world still floated in space as a warning. "The humans are not the destroyers," Thektar said, but his voice was weak. "How do you know?" Vorthak demanded. "Because they smile and speak politely. The destroyers were polite too, until they weren't. No, we stop this now while we still can." Meanwhile, in space around the station, Captain Sojin Park stood on the bridge of her ship, the Soul's Pride. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's Space Navy, with the rank pins of a captain on her collar. "Message received from the ambassador," reported Communications Officer Ji Woo-yoon. She was even younger than Yoon-bi, but her fingers moved across her control panel like a musician playing an instrument. "The talks failed, just like we expected." "Good," Sojin said. "That makes things simpler. Any change in alien ship positions?" "No, Captain," said scanner operator Taemin Woo. "They still have us surrounded, but they're keeping their distance. I count 47 alien warships in this system, including 6 heavy cruisers." Sojin nodded. The aliens thought they were being careful by surrounding the human fleet. What they didn't know was that the humans wanted to be surrounded. It made their job easier. "Dr. Minho Kang, how are our scans coming along?" Sojin asked. Dr. Kang looked up from his science station. He was older than most of the crew, with gray streaks in his black hair and thick glasses. "Very well, Captain. Our passive scanners have mapped every alien ship in detail. Their shield frequencies, weapon systems, engine signatures, even their internal layouts. The aliens have no idea we're doing it." "Excellent. Send everything to Admiral No on Earth, secure channel only." "Already done, Captain. Admiral No should have our complete intelligence package within the hour." Sojin walked to the main viewing screen. Outside, alien ships floated in neat formations. They looked powerful and dangerous, with sleek hulls and energy weapons glowing on their sides. Any human who saw them would be impressed and maybe a little scared. But Sojin wasn't scared. She was excited. "Captain," said Lieutenant Dong-hee Ryu from the weapons station, "the aliens are hailing us. They want to know our intentions." "Tell them we're waiting for orders from Earth," Sojin replied. Standard diplomatic response. Polite, but not helpful. The lieutenant nodded and sent the message. Sojin knew the aliens would be frustrated by the delay, but that was the point. Every hour humans waited was another hour to gather information and prepare. On Earth, Admiral Yu Jin Song stood in the Strategic Command Center deep under the Pacific Ocean. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and the kind of eyes that missed nothing. Around her, dozens of officers worked at computer stations, coordinating humanity's response to the alien ultimatum. "Admiral," said General Tae-ho Lee, walking up with a data tablet in his hands. "We just received Captain Park's intelligence package. Our scientists are already analyzing the alien technology." "What's the early assessment?" Yu Jin asked. "Better than we hoped," Tae-ho replied with a small smile. "The aliens are using technology that's advanced but predictable. Their shields operate on fixed frequencies. Their weapons have limited range and slow targeting systems. Most importantly, their ships are built for intimidation, not actual combat. They haven't fought a real war in a long time," Yu Jin said. "It wasn't a question. Not for over 1,000 years, according to our xenology reports. They're used to younger races surrendering without a fight. They've forgotten what war actually looks like." Yu Jin walked to the main display screen, which showed a map of human space, 15 star systems, each one marked with green dots for colonies and blue dots for military bases. It didn't look like much compared to the alien empire's thousands of systems, but appearances were deceiving. "General, send the activation codes to all fleet commanders," Yu Jin ordered. "It's time to show our guests what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years. "Yes, Admiral. Should I also contact President Lim?" "Already done. The President will address the nation in 6 hours. By then, everyone will know the truth." Back on Nexus Prime Station, Ambassador Hyunwoo sat in his assigned quarters with Yunbi. The room was designed for human comfort, but it felt like a prison cell. They both knew alien security was watching and listening to everything they did. "Sir, do you think they'll really attack us?" Yunbi asked. "Yes," Hyunwoo replied honestly. "They've convinced themselves that we're too dangerous to exist freely. They won't change their minds." "Are you worried?" Hyunwoo looked at his young aide. She had been specially chosen for this mission, and not just because she was good with computers. Yunbi had other skills that might become very important soon. "No," he said finally. "I'm not worried, are you?" Yunbi smiled for the first time since they'd arrived at the station. "No, sir. I'm actually kind of excited." "Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day." Outside their quarters, alien guards stood watch. They were confident that the humans were trapped and helpless. After all, what could 2 diplomats and 12 small ships do against the might of the Galactic Council? They were about to find out that they had been asking the wrong question. The real question was, what could humanity do when it stopped pretending to be weak? In a few hours, the galaxy would learn that humans had been holding back for 50 years. They had been playing the role of the young, struggling species while secretly building something the aliens had never seen before. A military force designed from the ground up to fight and win against superior numbers and technology. The aliens thought they were about to discipline unruly children. Instead, they had just woken up a sleeping giant. 24 hours passed like a countdown to war. On Nexus Prime Station, the Galactic Council waited with growing impatience. They had expected the humans to come back begging for mercy hours ago. Instead, Ambassador Hyunwoo and his aide remained, in their quarters apparently doing nothing. Vorthak paced around the council chamber like a caged animal. His yellow eyes glowed with anger as he checked the time display again and again. "Where are they?" he growled. "The deadline passed an hour ago." "Perhaps they're still debating," suggested Counselor Thektar, though he didn't sound convinced. "Debating what?" Vorthak snapped. "They have no choice. Their pathetic little fleet is surrounded by our warships. Their worlds are defenseless. What is there to debate?" Sulvek, the Zalani representative, touched his communication device. "I'm reading unusual activity from the human escort ships. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies." "Broadcasting what?" demanded Kethmore. "I'm not sure. The signals are heavily encrypted. Should we jam them?" Vorthak waved a massive clawed hand. "Let them send whatever messages they want. It won't change anything. In 1 hour we take their ships and arrest their diplomats. Then we move on their colonies. But the aliens had no idea what those encrypted signals actually contained. Captain Sojin Park stood on her bridge, watching as her communications officer worked frantically at her station. "Transmission complete, Captain," Ji Woo Yoon reported. "All human colonies on Earth have received the full intelligence package. Admiral No confirms that Operation Revelation is a go." "Excellent," Sojin replied. "Are our sister ships ready?" "All 11 captains report ready and waiting for your signal," said Lieutenant Dong Hee Ryu. Sojin looked around her bridge. Every officer knew what was about to happen. They had trained for this moment for years, hoping they would never need to use their skills. But now the time had come. "Open a channel to all ships in the system," Sojin ordered. "All frequencies. I want every alien and every human to hear this." "Channel open, Captain." Sojin straightened her uniform and looked directly into the main camera. "This is Captain Sojin Park of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride, speaking to all ships and stations in the Nexus system. For the past 24 hours, humanity has listened to the Galactic Council's demands for our surrender. We have considered their ultimatum carefully." On the alien ships around her, emergency alarms began to sound. The humans were supposed to be silent and scared, not broadcasting to the entire galaxy. "Our answer is no," Sojin continued, her voice steady and strong. "Humanity will not surrender our freedom to any alien power. We will not abandon our colonies or destroy our ships. We will not accept alien rule over human worlds." In the council chamber, Vorthak roared with fury. "Cut their transmission, jam their signals." "I can't," Sulvek replied, his 4 hands dancing over his controls. "They're using some kind of signal amplification I've never seen before. The transmission is getting stronger, not weaker." On every screen in the chamber, Captain Sojin Park's image appeared. Behind her, the bridge of a human warship looked advanced and dangerous in ways the aliens hadn't expected. For 50 years, the galaxy has watched humanity spread among the stars, Sojin said. "You have called us young and primitive. You have said we are children playing with dangerous toys. You have assumed that because we are new to space, we must be weak." She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "You were wrong." The transmission switched to show footage from Earth. The aliens gasped as they saw massive orbital shipyards stretching for hundreds of kilometers around the planet. Thousands of ships moved in and out of the construction bays. These weren't the small exploration vessels the aliens had seen before. These were warships, built for battle and bigger than anything in the Galactic Council fleet. "This is the Earth Defense Force," Sojin's voice continued. 2,347 ships of the line. Each one designed with one purpose, to protect human freedom. The footage switched again, showing similar shipyards around other human colonies. Mars, Europa, New Korea, Titan Base. Every human world bristled with military installations the aliens had never suspected existed. "How?" whispered Zixandra. "Our spies never reported any of this." On the screen, Sojin seemed to hear her question. "You wonder how we hid all this from your surveillance. The answer is simple. We let you see what we wanted you to see. While your spies watched our civilian ships and trade vessels, our real fleet was building in the outer darkness where you never thought to look." The transmission showed one more image that made every alien in the system go cold. Beyond Neptune's orbit, in the dark space between stars, a massive fleet hung waiting. Ship after ship stretched to the horizon, their hulls dark and their weapon systems powered down. They had been there all along, invisible and patient. Admiral Kwan Ho No appeared on the screen next to Sojin. He was an older man with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of military service. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had seen real war. "I am Admiral Kwan Ho No, Commanding Officer of the Human Defense Fleet. To the Galactic Council I say this. You have made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because humanity is young, we must be weak. You thought that because we have only been in space for 50 years. We don't understand the realities of galactic power." He leaned forward, and his eyes were as hard as steel. "You never asked yourselves the right question. How does a species go from barely reaching its own moon to faster than light travel in just 50 years? How do they build cities on alien worlds and ships that match your technology so quickly? The alien leaders looked at each other with growing fear. They had wondered about human progress, but they had assumed it was luck or maybe stolen alien technology. The answer is that humanity has one advantage you have forgotten, Admiral No continued. We remember how to fight. While your civilizations have grown soft and comfortable, humanity has never stopped preparing for war. Every human child learns strategy and tactics. Every human colony has military training. Every human ship carries weapons. The transmission switched to show human colonies the aliens thought they knew. But now the images revealed the truth. Farming communities that were actually military bases. Mining operations that were weapons factories. Civilian transports that could transform into assault ships in minutes. You called humanity dangerous, Admiral No said. You were right, we are dangerous. But not in the way you think. We're dangerous because we refuse to bow to anyone. We're dangerous because we fight for our freedom with everything we have. And we're dangerous because we've spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment. Forthak stood up from his throne, his massive frame shaking with rage. This is propaganda. Lies. Their ships are still surrounded. We have 47 warships to their 12. As if they had heard him, the 12 human escort ships suddenly changed. Panels slid away from their hulls, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden beneath. Engine pods extended from their backs, doubling their size. Hull plating shifted and reconfigured, turning exploration vessels into ships of war. But that wasn't the worst part. On every scanner in the alien fleet, new contacts began to appear. Human ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel all around the system. Not 12 ships, not 47 ships, but hundreds. They appeared from every direction, as if they had been coordinating this moment for months. Captain Sojin Park's voice returned to the transmission. The choice is yours, Galactic Council. You can accept humanity as an equal member of galactic civilization, or you can try to force us to surrender. But understand this. If you choose force, you will learn why humanity has never lost a war. The end. Transmission ended, leaving the aliens staring at screens full of human warships. In just a few minutes, the balance of power in the Nexus system had completely reversed. Instead of 47 alien ships surrounding 12 human vessels, hundreds of human warships now surrounded the alien fleet. In the council chamber, silence fell like a heavy blanket. The alien leaders looked at each other with shock and fear. They had expected to discipline wayward children. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand and couldn't control. Forthak was the first to speak, his voice much quieter than before. How many ships do they have out there? Sulvek checked his scanners with shaking hands. I count over 300 human vessels, and more are still arriving. 300? Whispered Kethmore. That's impossible. Where did they all come from? The answer was simple, though the aliens couldn't accept it yet. The humans had been planning this moment since the day they first left Earth. Every colony, every trade mission, every diplomatic contact had been part of a larger strategy. While the aliens watched and judged and prepared to crush the dangerous young species, humanity had been quietly building the largest and most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. The peace talks hadn't failed because humanity was too proud to surrender. They had failed because humanity had never intended to surrender at all. The 24-hour deadline came and went like thunder in the night. When the Galactic Council's ultimatum expired, they moved their fleets exactly as planned. 3 massive battle groups, the pride of alien military might, jumped into human space to begin what they thought would be a quick and easy conquest. The first group, led by Admiral Zeklon of the Hegemony, targeted the human colony of New Busan. Intelligence reports said it was a farming world with maybe a few thousand colonists and no military defenses, perfect for a demonstration of alien power. Admiral Zeklon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dread Sovereign, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on his screens. His yellow eyes glowed with satisfaction as he counted the few ships in orbit around the world. Pathetic, he growled to his second-in-command. 6 small cargo vessels and what looks like a mining platform. These humans really thought they could build an empire with toys like this? Should we demand their surrender, Admiral? Asked Commander Threxvar. No, Zeklon replied. Council leader Vorthak was very clear. We make an example here. Destroy their orbital facilities first, then land troops to secure the population. The galaxy needs to see what happens when you defy the Council. The hegemony fleet spread out in attack formation. 37 heavy warships, each one the size of a human city block, powered up their weapons and moved toward the planet. This was going to be easier than target practice. That's when Governor Sang-min-oh showed them what human colonies were really like. All defensive platforms. This is command, Sang-min spoke into his communication device from the colony's control center deep underground. He was a middle-aged man with calm eyes and steady hands. He had been a military officer before becoming a colonial governor, and those skills were about to become very important. Power up all systems. Show our guests what New Busan is really capable of. On the surface of the planet, what the aliens had thought were farming equipment began to change. Irrigation systems retracted into the ground, revealing particle beam weapons. Grain storage silos opened like flowers, exposing missile batteries. Even the windmills stopped spinning and folded out into sensor arrays and communication towers. In orbit, the cargo ships the aliens had dismissed as harmless suddenly activated cloaking fields that fell away like shed skin. Underneath were human destroyers, their hulls bristling with weapons that had been hidden under false cargo pods. What the? Admiral Zeklon started to say, but his words were cut off as the first human missiles reached his fleet. The aliens had expected primitive projectile weapons, maybe some crude energy beams. What hit them instead were guided weapons with artificial intelligence, traveling at nearly light speed and carrying warheads that could crack a moon in half. The hegemony cruiser, Wind of Destruction, exploded in a ball of fire that lit up half the system. 2 more ships followed it into death before the aliens even understood they were under attack. Return fire, Zeklon roared. All ships, return fire. The alien weapons lashed out, energy beams and plasma bolts filling space with deadly light. But the human ships moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. They twisted and rolled through space, their engines producing thrust vectors that seemed to ignore physics. When alien weapons did hit them, the shots scattered off defensive fields that bent energy around the ships like water flowing around rocks. On the planet below, Governor Sang-min-oh watched the battle on his tactical displays. Sector 7, launch the reserves, he ordered calmly. What the aliens had thought was a mining platform in the planet's asteroid belt suddenly came to life. The platform unfolded like a mechanical insect, revealing itself as a massive weapons station. Dozens of fighter craft poured out of hidden bays, swarming toward the alien fleet like angry bees. But these weren't ordinary fighters. Each one was controlled by an artificial intelligence that could think and react faster than any living pilot. They moved in perfect coordination, striking and vanishing before the aliens could target them. Admiral Zeklon watched in horror as his fleet began to fall apart. Ships that had ruled space for 1,000 years were being destroyed by weapons they couldn't understand and tactics they had never seen. Retreat, he finally ordered. All ships, fall back to jump distance. But the humans weren't done with them yet. The space around New Busan suddenly filled with more ships as the planet's real defense fleet arrived. These weren't the converted cargo vessels the aliens had been fighting. These were proper warships, built from the ground up for combat. They moved to cut off the alien retreat, trapping the survivors in a cage of fire and metal. Similar scenes played out across human space. At the colony of Titan Base, Commander Dongjun Shin led a boarding action that became legend. When alien, Marines tried to capture what they thought was a defenseless research station. They found themselves facing humans who fought like demons. The aliens were used to wars where armies met in neat formations and followed ancient rules of combat. Human soldiers didn't follow those rules. They used the station's own environment as a weapon, venting atmosphere to freeze alien troops and redirecting power systems to electrify entire sections. Commander Dongjun Shin himself led his Marines. through the station's ventilation systems appearing behind alien lines like ghosts. When the hegemony commander finally surrendered, half his force was dead, and the other half was too terrified to fight. "How do they move so fast?" the alien commander asked as human soldiers secured his weapons. "How do they know where we are before we get there?" Dong Junshin smiled grimly. "Because this is our home. We built it, we know every bolt and wire. And because we've been training for this fight our whole lives." At the third target, the mining world of New Seoul, Fleet Admiral Soo Hyun Bae showed the aliens what human fleet tactics looked like. The alien commander expected a traditional space battle, ships lined up and trading fire until one side retreated. Instead, the human fleet split into small groups that attacked from every direction at once. They used the asteroid field around the planet like cover, appearing and disappearing among the rocks. When alien ships tried to follow them, they found the asteroids were full of hidden weapons platforms and automated defense systems. "It's like fighting a ghost," reported one alien captain before his ship was destroyed by a mine that came out of nowhere. Admiral Soo Hyun Bae coordinated the battle from her flagship, the Indomitable. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that worked like a computer. She had studied every alien ship design, every weapon system, every tactical manual the Council had ever published. "Concentrate fire on their command ships," she ordered. "Take out their leaders and the rest will panic." She was right. When the alien admirals fell, their fleets began to break apart. Alien crews who had never faced real resistance suddenly found themselves fighting for their lives against enemies, who seemed to be everywhere at once. The worst part for the aliens wasn't just that they were losing, it was how badly they were losing. These weren't close fights or heroic last stands, these were massacres. Human forces were destroying alien fleets with almost casual efficiency. Back at Nexus Prime Station, the Galactic Council watched the reports come in with growing horror. 3 of their most powerful battle groups, hundreds of ships and millions of trained soldiers, were being wiped out by what they had thought were helpless human colonies. "This is impossible," Forthak kept saying, staring at the tactical displays. "Their ships are too small, their weapons too primitive. How are they winning?" Councillor Thektar of the Verdani Union spoke quietly from his throne. "Perhaps because we never bothered to learn anything real about them. We looked at their technology and called it primitive. We looked at their tactics and called them brutal. We never asked if primitive and brutal might actually be effective." "Their weapons aren't primitive," Sulvek reported, his 4 hands shaking as he read the battle reports. "They're just different. Instead of trying to match our technology, they built something completely new. Their ships are smaller but faster. Their weapons are shorter ranged but more accurate. Their defenses don't stop our attacks, they redirect them. And their soldiers," added Kethamore, his crystal body flickering with stress patterns. "Our Marines report that human troops fight with an intensity that defies understanding. They don't retreat when surrounded. They don't surrender when outnumbered. They fight until they win, or until they're dead." Borthak slammed his massive fist on the arm of his throne. "Then we send more ships. We have thousands of vessels across the galaxy. We'll crush them with sheer numbers." "With what?" Thektar asked. "The fleets we sent were our best, our most experienced commanders, our most advanced ships. If they can't defeat the humans, who can?" The answer to that question was becoming very clear. No one could defeat the humans because the humans had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this kind of war. While the aliens had grown comfortable and soft, humanity had been building a military machine designed to fight against superior numbers and technology, and it was working perfectly. In just 3 days, humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, not as a young species seeking acceptance, but as a new superpower that would not be denied. The Galactic Council's attempt to crush the human colonies had backfired completely. 6 months after the failed peace talks, the galaxy looked very different. The massive Galactic Council station at Nexus Prime still floated in space, but now human ships patrolled around it, alongside the remaining alien vessels. The flags and symbols of 12 alien races had been joined by one more, the blue and white banner of Earth. President Ji-hyun Lim stood at the podium in the new Galactic Assembly Hall, looking out at representatives from dozens of worlds. She was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen both war and peace. As the elected leader of humanity, she carried the hopes and fears of 20 billion humans scattered across the stars. 6 months ago, this body was called the Galactic Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. It claimed to speak for all civilized species in the galaxy. Today we gather as the Galactic Assembly, where every species has an equal voice and equal rights. In the audience, alien representatives listened with expressions ranging from respect to barely concealed anger. The Verdani Union's ambassador Thektar nodded approvingly from his seat. His people had been among the first to accept the new reality and seek friendship with humanity. But in the back rows, the surviving leaders of the hegemony sat in sullen silence. Forthak was dead, killed when his flagship was destroyed at the Battle of Kepler Station. His replacement, war leader Krexmol, still dreamed of revenge against the humans who had shattered his people's pride. The old system failed because it was built on fear and domination, President Lim continued. Species were divided into rulers and subjects, with the strong commanding the weak. Humanity offers a different path: partnership between equals, trade based on mutual benefit, and protection that serves all rather than just the few. Admiral Sojin Park, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood in the military section wearing her new uniform. The rank pins on her collar showed her position as Supreme Commander of Allied Forces, a title that would have been impossible to imagine just months ago. Around her, officers from a dozen different species worked together, learning human tactics and teaching their own methods in return. The transformation hadn't been easy. After humanity's devastating victory over the Council's fleets, many alien species had expected the humans to become the new overlords of the galaxy. Instead, Earth had surprised everyone by offering genuine partnership to any species willing to treat humanity as equals. "We understand that trust must be earned," President Lim said, looking directly at some of the more skeptical alien delegates. "Humanity doesn't ask you to forget our recent conflicts. We ask only that you judge us by our actions going forward." Those actions had spoken louder than any words. When the Zephyrian plague threatened to wipe out the crystal-based Kethmore species, human medical ships had arrived within days with experimental treatments. When economic collapse hit the Outer Rim territories, human trade fleets had brought supplies and expertise to rebuild entire worlds. Dr. Min Ho Kung, now director of Galactic Sciences, had led the effort to share human technology with their new allies. But unlike the old Council's method of keeping advanced knowledge to themselves, humans offered their discoveries freely to anyone willing to share their own knowledge in return. "The human approach to technology is fascinating," Dr. Kang had told a gathering of alien scientists just last month. "Instead of hoarding secrets, we believe that sharing knowledge makes everyone stronger. A discovery made on Titan Base can help solve problems on Zelani Prime. An invention from the Grotak homeworld might revolutionize human industry." But not everyone was happy with the new galactic order. In hidden bases scattered across the Outer Rim, remnants of the old Council plotted their return to power. War leader Krexmol commanded a small fleet of hegemony survivors, raiders who struck at human shipping and vanished into the dark spaces between stars. "The humans think they've won," Krexmol told his officers during a secret meeting on a dead world at the galaxy's edge. "They think their pretty words about partnership and equality have changed everything, but species don't change their nature. Humans are conquerors, just like we were. Soon they'll show their true face. And when they do, the galaxy will remember why the strong must rule the weak." His aide, Commander Vexitar, looked up from his tactical display. "Our spies report that human military production has actually decreased since the war ended. They're converting weapons factories into civilian shipyards." "A trick," Krexmol snarled. "They want to appear peaceful while they consolidate their power. But we'll be ready for them. The hegemony remembers how to fight, even if the rest of the galaxy has forgotten." What Krexmol didn't understand was that humanity's greatest strength had never been their weapons or their tactics. It was their ability to turn enemies into allies and to make others believe in something bigger than themselves. Captain Sojin Park had learned this lesson during the integration of alien officers into human fleets. At first, the aliens had been suspicious and hostile, expecting to be treated as conquered enemies. Instead, they found themselves welcomed as valuable partners. The key is respect, Sojin had explained to her fellow commanders. These beings have knowledge and experience we lack. The Zilani understand energy manipulation better than we do. The Grotak are masters of biological systems. The Verdani know more about peaceful exploration than any human. If we treat them as equals, they'll treat us the same way. It worked. Within months, mixed crews were operating throughout human space, alien and human officers working side by side. When conflicts arose, they were solved through discussion and compromise rather than domination and submission. The transformation was most visible in the military academies. Human cadets trained alongside young aliens, learning that courage and honor weren't limited to any single species. Zilani officers taught advanced shield harmonics while human instructors shared lessons in rapid tactical adaptation. We're not just building an alliance, observed Commander Dongjun Shin, now head of the Joint Military Training Program. We're creating something that's never existed before. A truly integrated galactic defense force where every species contributes their best qualities. The economic changes were just as dramatic. Under the old council system, trade had been strictly controlled, with the dominant species taking the best deals and leaving scraps for everyone else. The new Galactic Assembly established free trade, zones where any species could compete on equal terms. Human corporations found themselves working with alien partners in ways that benefited everyone. Grotak biotechnology combined with human engineering to create new medical treatments. Zilani energy systems powered human manufacturing plants, while human automation improved alien production lines. The old way was based on scarcity, explained Trade Minister Kyung-Soo Bae during a recent economic summit. The council believed that for one species to succeed, others had to fail. The human way is based on abundance. When we all work together, everyone benefits. Even the skeptics were starting to believe. The crystal being Kethmore, once a firm supporter of council hierarchy, had become one of humanity's strongest advocates after human scientists helped save his people from the Zephyrian plague. I was wrong about humans, he admitted during a recent assembly session. I thought their rapid advancement meant they were reckless and dangerous. I didn't understand that their speed came from their willingness to take risks and learn from failure. They don't fear making mistakes because they know mistakes lead to knowledge. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed itself. Under the council system, species had been isolated from each other, interacting only through official channels and formal diplomacy. The new assembly encouraged direct contact between worlds, cultural exchanges, and personal relationships that crossed species lines. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim, now serving as Earth's first Galactic Assembly representative, often spoke about this transformation. 6 months ago, aliens and humans saw each other as strange and threatening. Today, my aide Yoon-B Choi is dating a Verdani engineer, and my tactical advisor is a former hegemony officer who chose to join us rather than flee with the extremists. The personal relationships were building bridges that no amount of formal diplomacy could create. When beings from different worlds worked together, lived together, and sometimes even fell in love together, the old prejudices and fears began to fade. President Lim concluded her address to the assembly with words that would be remembered for generations. 6 months ago, the galaxy was divided between rulers and subjects, between the strong and the weak. Today we stand together as equals, not because we're the same, but because we've learned to value our differences. The age of galactic empires is over. The age of galactic partnership has begun. As the assembly members applauded, Admiral Sojin Park looked out through the station's windows at the mixed fleet patrolling nearby space. Human ships flew alongside Verdani explorers, Grotak science vessels, and even a few former council cruisers, whose crews had chosen cooperation over conflict. It wasn't a perfect galaxy. There were still pirates and extremists, still conflicts over resources and territory, still species that preferred isolation to integration. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 miles of polished metal and crystal. 12 different alien species sat around the massive oval table, their forms as different as their homeworlds. Some breathed water, others methane, and a few existed as pure energy contained in mechanical shells. Ambassador Krell of the Forthon Empire stood at the center of the room. His tall, thin body cast long shadows as holographic displays showed images of a small blue planet. Earth looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over green and brown continents. But Krell's 6 eyes showed only disgust when he looked at it. "For 50 years we have watched this primitive world," Krell announced to the council. His voice echoed through translation devices that turned his harsh clicks into words each species could understand. 50 years of waiting for them to prove they deserve a place among civilized beings. The Nexari delegate, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light, pulsed in agreement. They have shown no progress beyond their basic technology, still using chemical rockets, still fighting wars over resources their own planet provides freely. On the viewing screens, footage played of human cities, human wars, and human daily life. The aliens had been watching everything through hidden satellites and cloaked ships. They saw traffic jams, political arguments, and people going about their normal lives. To them, it all looked chaotic and primitive. "They call themselves the dominant species of their world," said Thymon, whose rock-like body made grinding sounds when he moved. "Yet they cannot even agree on simple things like trade or borders." Ambassador Krell nodded. "This is why the Council must act. These humans have nuclear weapons. Crude ones, but dangerous enough. They have sent small probes to nearby planets. Soon they may discover faster-than-light travel. We cannot allow such a violent and backward species to spread into civilized space." Far below the Council station, hidden in the mountains of Korea, Admiral Taeho watched the same alien broadcast on his own screens. He was a man in his 50s with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many battles. Around him, dozens of technicians worked at computer terminals, tracking every word the aliens spoke. "They still think we can't hear them," said Dr. So Young, a woman with short black hair who stood beside the Admiral. She was Earth's top expert on alien languages and technology. 50 years of watching us, and they never realized we've been watching them back." Admiral Taeho smiled without humor. "Let them keep thinking that. How many ships do our deep space sensors show?" "About 800 alien vessels gathering at the edge of our solar system," replied Commander Jiwoo, a younger man who ran Earth's secret space monitoring systems. "Nothing we can't handle." Back in the council chamber, Krell was still speaking. "The time for patience has ended. These humans must be brought under galactic law before they become a threat to themselves and others." The Zephyrian ambassador, who looked like a giant butterfly made of silver metal, spoke up. "What do you propose, Krell? Direct conquest seems excessive for such a weak species." "Not conquest," Krell replied. "Guidance. We will give them a simple choice. Surrender all nuclear weapons, accept galactic oversight of their government and submit to our laws, or face the consequences of their defiance." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council had done this before with other young species. Most chose submission over destruction. A few had chosen to fight and been quickly defeated. Earth would be no different. "I propose we give them 30 days, Krell continued. "Broadcast our message to their entire planet. Let their leaders debate and panic. When they see our ships approaching their world, they will understand how powerless they are." The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed that Earth needed to be controlled before it became dangerous. Admiral Taeho watched the vote happen in real time. His hidden base had been monitoring alien communications for decades, ever since they first detected the Watchers in space. The mountain facility was just one of many hidden around the world, all connected by quantum communication networks the aliens had never discovered. "Send the message to all bases," Admiral Taeho ordered. "Operation Silent Thunder moves to Phase 2. Commander Jiwoo typed rapidly at his console. Across the globe, hidden facilities received the same message. In the Australian desert, massive doors began opening in what looked like empty sand dunes. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, underwater, Shipyards came online for the first time in 30 years. In the frozen wastes of Antarctica, heat signatures that had been carefully hidden from alien sensors began to grow stronger. Dr. So Young pulled up another screen showing global communications. The alien broadcast just reached Earth. Every government is getting the message now. The alien ultimatum was simple and direct. Humanity had 30 days to disarm completely and accept alien rule, or Earth would be invaded by a force they could not possibly resist. News networks around the world exploded with panic. Politicians demanded emergency meetings. Military leaders tried to calculate how many planes and missiles they could throw at alien ships. But in hidden bunkers and secret facilities, a different kind of preparation was happening. "How many ships are ready?" Admiral Tae-ho asked. 12,437 as of this morning, Commander Ji-woo replied. "All crews are at stations, all weapons are armed and loaded." "And they still think we're primitives flying chemical rockets?" Dr. So Young laughed. "Yesterday they intercepted one of our commercial satellite launches. Their analysis called it crude but adequate for a developing species. They have no idea what we're really capable of. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this. Days since the 1970s, when the first alien probe was detected entering the solar system. Instead of trying to make contact, Earth's governments had made a different choice. They would watch, learn, and prepare. Every crashed alien ship had been studied. Every technology had been reverse-engineered and improved. Every weakness had been catalogued. The aliens thought human silence meant fear or ignorance. They were wrong. Human silence meant preparation. "Admiral," Commander Ji-woo called out, "we're getting reports from our deep space stations. The alien fleet is starting to move toward Earth. How long until they reach optimal firing position?" "At their current speed, about 28 days. Admiral Tae-ho nodded. "Perfect. That gives us 2 days to make final preparations." He turned to face the main screen, which showed a star map with thousands of tiny dots representing human ships hidden throughout the solar system. "Send a message to all commanders. Tell them the waiting is almost over." In space, far beyond what any alien scanner could detect, Captain Hye-jin received the message aboard her flagship. The Soul's Fury was just one ship among thousands, all invisible to alien technology, all waiting for the order to reveal themselves. The aliens were about to learn that Earth had never been silent. It had been listening, learning, and getting ready to roar.